Yo, Novatos, thanks again for tuning in to yet another video. Infamous coming at you live from the West Coast yet again, San Jose, California. So we are just going through a few settings. We're going to discover them as we go. Let's go ahead and see what would be the best settings for motovlogging. Alright. So let's go ahead and look at a few things you guys saw. I already had the settings, of course. As far as your basic settings, you would have to switch over to Pro. Now we'll give you the extra settings, but let's go into the small little details. As far as the my own settings, what I would like to do. All right, so we do have single screen preview, which is locked, screen off when locked. Screen off when locked. I guess we could leave that on there, right? So we don't turn it back on. I'm not sure what that is. Well, wireless mic, of course, if you want to add a DJI mic or maybe a Bluetooth mic, maybe that might work with this. I'm not entirely sure. Depth and altitude. We're going to be using this for motovlogging, so we really don't have to mess with that. I went ahead and I turned the screen off. This is just to improve the battery life, but it looks like as far as always on, you only have probably this preview after whatever the camera or the indicator or the next setting is. So when your camera preview turns off, this is what you see. All right, so that would always be on, but I have the camera on my helmet, so I'm not going to be able to see it anyway. So we went ahead and we turned that off. Screen off from recording. I like to do 1 minute. All right, that's just me. Like I said, this is mainly about saving or conserving the battery life. The built-in mic audio backup, that is for some reason, if there's an issue with the connection or the Bluetooth or your mic turns off because of battery or whatever, I believe this will have a separate audio file. Now that's something that the GoPro also does. You can have raw audio and you can have the mic audio. And like I said, you'll just have an extra audio file when you look at your files. When you're transferring your images or your videos, you'll have an audio file, an additional audio file. Camera shooting, that really depends. How much of a delay do you want the timer to be? I'm guessing that's just mainly for your quick settings. USB mode, when you connect it, you could either use it as a webcam or you could use it to transfer files. I'm guessing that's what that is for. Use Type-C or Type-C PD cable to connect camera, Android or PC or Mac. That will give you those options. Wireless connection, you could always leave this on. And this is just to have the camera connect to the app when you're, of course, doing stuff or transferring files or updating the actual camera with the firmware or something. So let's go ahead and go into bitrate. All right, so this matters. All right, if you're doing, of course, color shading or whatever, if you're doing a little bit more editing, then you want this at high. All right, you get more color. I'm guessing standard bitrate. It just gives you the standard, but high, that gives you a little bit more detail, gives you more information as far as what you're recording. I'm guessing this is already recording in 10-bit out of camera. I'm not sure. I just turned this on. But high, of course, bitrate, you have more info. So high bitrate only available in video, super night, and slow motion mode. So I guess you can't use it in photo and you can't use it in time lapse. But let's set that at, of course, high. Go back into the settings. Where were we? Bitrate high, sounds high. I guess that really depends. Sounds, is that filtering? I'm not sure. I think we would want high, but if you're clipping, then you're not going to be able to recover that audio. If you're recording too low, you could always increase the decibels. I always like to have the grids turned on, just to kind of give me an idea of where center is. So the grids, doesn't bother me. That's something that I typically do when I'm doing photography. Time code, there it is. It tells you, of course, the time, the record or whatever, what the settings and stuff like that, time code, naming management, I'm guessing that's the files. Auto power off, that's when the camera will shut off if you have it at idle. Basically, if you're recording and you hit the shutter button, after 5 minutes of you not hitting that shutter button, it will automatically turn off. Horizon calibration, you could also, of course, calibrate, put it on a flat surface. That will improve the horizon steady and the leveling system in the camera. You could also do that, you know, if you don't have this camera mounted properly on your helmet, then you could always improve the calibration. Continue last live stream, Bluetooth remote controller. We don't have that. I'm not sure if that's an aftermarket or if it has like the Bluetooth shutter button. Storage, of course, that's like one of the main settings. We already formatted the actual camera. Device info, that's pretty much as far as the extra settings. Now let's go into your basic or the camera functions and all this other stuff. So you could keep it simple. All right, these are just the two adjustments as far as image, but if you want more control, we have to go into the Pro. So let's go ahead and highlight the Pro. Now, like I said, this is going to be mainly for motovlogging. All right, these are the settings for motovlogging. Exposure, you can see it. You can add a couple stops and stuff like that. Right now it is on auto, so whenever you change something as far as the clouds and whatever and all this other stuff, the Osmo Action will set the settings for you. We could also shoot it in manual. You guys can see how that looks. You could always improve the ISO to give you a little bit more light. I like shooting at 800 to 400 ISO. Of course, you also have the shutter speed over here. We could also improve that and you know, give you a little bit more speed as well. But I think as far as ISO, as long as you keep it on during the daylight, I think it should be fine. You don't have to really mess with this. But as far as, you know, daylight, I think 100 to 800 ISO, or you know what, we'll try the 100 to 1600, because some of you guys do ride in cloudy weather. Here in California, we have a lot of sunny clouds. So I mean sunny days. So we could actually just record a 100 to 800 ISO. That's going to give us some decent information and recording. Also, there's also noise and stuff like that once you get up to the higher ISO. But I think for the most part, most of you guys, we should just keep it at the 100 to 1600. And like I said, that's mainly for motovlogging. All right, if you're going indoors and stuff like that, and you're motovlogging indoors, like you get off if you get off the bike and then you walk into a store or whatever, then you probably want to bump this up a little bit more. So maybe for a well-rounded option would be 100 to 3200 ISO. So let's just keep it on there. The exposure, let's go on to auto white balance. This really depends, of course. Like I said, the camera's going to be looking at all the elements surrounding what it's picking up. You know, just so we don't confuse the viewer, or if you're doing editing and stuff like that, I like to keep this at 5,000. No, at 4,500 as far as the white balance. And like I said, this is just mainly motovlogging. All right, so if you're driving in a deserted area or like a desert area, and then you drive into or you ride into some grass or something that's a little bit greener, it's going to change your white balance. So to prevent the shift or the noticeable shift between you know, the environment, let's keep it at 4,500. That way you get a nice balance of everything, and the camera doesn't shift your white balance every time you change, or every time there's something in front of the camera that makes it change or think that that it needs to adjust the white balance. So let's just keep it at 4,500. I like that. All right, let's go into the color. Of course, if you're getting a 10-bit camera, then shoot it at 10-bit, normal 10-bit. Like I said, it really depends. Do you want to do post editing? Then you have to have all the colors. I mean, this is one of the features of getting these new cameras. The Hero 12, the Hero 11, you have that 10-bit. You might as well use it. Yes, there's more information, but it's always better. You also have a few other options, of course, but this other stuff, I'd say this is more for advanced. If you're just starting out, normal 10-bit is where you want to be at. So let's go ahead and look at what this is. The scenarios, suitable for scenarios without too many movements, such as walking or vlogging, to meet the lighting conditions daily, and sport. So you have to. So remove motion blur. So I'm guessing you want to keep it at sport if you're doing, of course, motovlogging. And let's go ahead and look at this last one. What is this? This is noise reduction and texture. I'm guessing texture would be sharpness. Noise reduction, that would be the sound. But like I said, we are recording in daylight, so we don't need to reduce noise and all that other stuff. And of course, we have the mic stuff, channel stereo. You could also record in mono. I would just keep it on stereo. That way you could utilize the left and the right, I guess. Wind noise, you could always, I guess, hit this at high. But normally if you're doing motovlog, then you are going to have a mic, attached to this, of course. And then as far as, the settings, you can see that my record time dropped by half because I'm recording more information with the 10-bit than I am with the 8-bit. Like I mentioned, as far as the 10-bit color, I would say use it. But if you're really, concerned about your storage, you could always switch back to normal 8-bit. All right. Now I'm using the normal 10-bit because I don't plan on doing color shading or color whatever. I really like the settings that the camera has in body, but having the 10-bit, of course, will give you a little bit of adjustments. If you really want the max, then you'll have to, record in D-Log, which is pretty flat, and it'll give you, the normal 10-bit gives you a well-rounded of colors and contrast and all this other stuff. If you do it, of course, in the flat, then you'll have more control and color shading and stuff like that. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. But let's go into the settings. What are we going to record in? Of course, 4K would be absolutely the best. Frames per second, that really depends. All right, that really depends on you, on what do you plan to do. I mean, recording in 60 frames per second looks good, and that gives you a bit of slow motion. But 30 frames per second and 24 frames per second seems to be fine. All right, it just looks more natural. All right, you really can't see it, but like I said, anything above 30 frames per second, you'll have the ability to slow it down in post production or in post. And I used to always record in 2.7K. All right, these settings don't matter if you don't know how to, of course, export or render on the PC. Of course, you also have 1080. A lot of people watch YouTube or your content on their phones. You really don't need the 2.7K or the 4K as far as recording, but like I said, it really depends on your on what you have. All right, if you don't have a lot of storage space, or if you don't have the rig to edit 4K content, then you want to, of course, go down a little bit. You could always render up when you're exporting the settings. You could always render up or export up or improve the improve the actual quality. But of course, shooting it in camera would always be the best, because that's what, of course, gives you the most information. You have the bit rate, you have the colors, and then of course you have the information as far as the image. All right, you're getting this camera so you could have improved content. Why not record in 4.3 or 16:9? Of course, the 4K 4x3, that gives you the option of shifting your actual footage from left to right. You also have a little bit more information if you do decide to, post content to your social media. Maybe you want to update it to, or maybe you want to post it on TikTok or Instagram. Having the 430 gives you a little bit more room, so you could put it in a vertical or in a portrait, of course, portrait format. But as far as, just getting it out of the camera and not doing minimal editing and all this other stuff, you want to record in 4K 16:9 by 30 frames per second. I think it should be fine. Of course, you'll have a little bit of motion blur, but of course, we're also shooting this in sport mode, so maybe that's going to help out a little bit more. And as far as your stability, all right, this really depends on what you want. All right, we have ultra wide, we have Rocksteady Plus, we have horizon balancing. It looks like it doesn't have a horizon steady. Oh, this is horizon steady. Maybe that's what they're calling it now. So you have about 45 degrees of where the camera or the footage will still be leveled. All right. So we have standard D-warp, and we have the Rocksteady Plus. Having, of course, these ones, it will change your focal length. All right. You can see it. You're at 17. You won't be able to go below that. And of course, you have the Rocksteady. You could go down to 12, which is a lot wider. And then of course you have all these other. You have the 11 focal length. You also have standard with the D warp. So the stuff on the outside, you can see the stuff on the outside is not super warped, so it doesn't have that fisheye look. Of course, in this one, the further out you get, the more of a fisheye you'll get on the outer ends. Of course, you could always turn that off, but it's not recommended at all. I would always recommend just riding with Rocksteady Plus or Rocksteady. Both are great. GoPro and the Osmo Action, they have really improved the Rocksteady, or the image stability on all of these cameras. Rocksteady, Horizon Steady. I like having a wider focal length, but it looks like the Rocksteady, they both record at the same focal length or close to. Looks like there's just a tiny bit more information. Ultra wide, it just looks like you really are in the passenger seat when you're motovlogging. So let's just do Rocksteady. Like I said, if you have the camera and it's not mounted, leveled, or anything like that, then shoot it in horizon balancing, which is kind of the what is it called? Horizon Steady, I believe that's what they used to call it. Horizon balancing, that will give you a little bit, or 45 degrees of leveled content, and it looks to be like it's the same focal length anyways. So maybe keep it at horizon balancing. And that's pretty much it, guys. That is by far, I would say the best settings to get out of the camera and do minimal editing and stuff like that. So this is pretty much ready for motovlogging now. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. That is by far the best settings, I believe. First time, going through the camera and stuff like that. We'll have to put the camera to the test. Of course, we have currently 6 hours of footage, and like I mentioned, it all comes down to your storage, to your rig stuff. If you're having trouble editing this format, you could always go down to 2.7. Find the sweet spot. If you're still having trouble editing the footage on your rig, then go down to 1080p. All right. I'm surprised it doesn't have a setting to as far as the format. So I'm guessing it just records in regular 0.265 codec. Maybe that's what it is, or maybe that's what it is over here when we do the color bit. So anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. That is the best settings to get out of motovlogging. horizon balancing, 4K 30. I think it's fantastic. You know, that's pretty much it. So everything else is pretty much a preference. I think if I wanted to, I'd probably turn off the front display, but I think it's pretty good. Swipe to unlock. So both of these are actually touch. That's pretty neat, but it's not registering my touch, or it's maybe because I have the protective case. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Life's a risk. Get out there and ride. Later.